Okay, so good morning. Welcome to the launch of the website of Cavan Volunteer Center. That's www.volunteercavan.ie. I would like to acknowledge the presence of Minister Joe O'Reilly, Minister of State for Community Development, Integration and Charities, who, if it weren't for him mentioning it yesterday, I actually met him in 2018 at a big event that he had when he was still working at Immigrant Council of Ireland called Political Engagement of Migrants. I was looking and he was at an event yesterday and he said, we actually met before, and we did. And it was a very engaging event that was meant to be only for migrants who were migrant community leaders in Cavan. But he was very kind enough to let me bring along the Philippine Honorary Consul, because I was working with him in mobilizing Filipinos in Ireland, and I was the only one there who was Filipino, actually. So it was a good event. Thank you so much for that, Minister O'Brien, and I had no regret attending that event. That was 5 years ago. Lots of things have happened since, and I'm very happy volunteering for more than 9 years now, and even more delighted to be running the Volunteer Center here in Cavan. And to see you here as the minister who will help us, who will be launching our website. I also want to acknowledge the presence of Kahirlap John Paul Feely and all the councillors, TDs, and senators throughout Cavan who have always been supportive in all our community events. Brendan Jennings, Director of Services, thanks so much for coming as well. We are delighted to have our guests from Volunteer Ireland. From Dublin, Jay Varga, who is the Volunteering Development Program Manager, and Paul Collins, Outcomes and Impacts Manager of Volunteer Ireland as well, and the Manager of Monaghan Volunteer Center, Sinead Keenan. Of course, the board members of Cavan Volunteer Center, I call them the Magnificent Eight, who have always been there to give valuable advice and guidance. Unfortunately, our chair, David Cahill and Mags Matthews couldn't make it, but we have Kate Ennals, Des Laurie, Stanley Nwaneri, Fintan McCabe, and Marissa Goldstone. Our development worker, Sally Ann Duffy, our TUS worker, Corey Wright, our project volunteers, Sadia and Lesha and Yasmin, and we also have TY students on work placement, Adele and Tala. Also, welcome to the volunteer involving organizations who have been providing us with volunteer opportunities, and of course, the volunteers who have been helping endlessly since the center reopened in June last year. And I want to acknowledge the presence of all the stakeholders and community service providers in Cavan and everyone else who are here to support our event today. And Leanne, the manager here at Cavan Digital Hub, as well as we want to welcome Anne-Marie McNally, who is the Minister's Special Advisor. I hope I covered everyone. So today we are launching our website and we will start our program. First, we're gonna have Kahirlap John Paul Feely to say a few words and welcome our minister.
Good morning, everyone. I think Vanda has everyone well covered at this stage. Although I know she's saying about her Filipino origins, but I think at this stage it's very firmly a Mullahoran person, I think of anyway. Every time I meet her, I'm very conscious of that Mullahoran connection. To assure the minister that being from Mullahoran is a whole identity above being from County Cavan. I'm delighted to be here this morning to extend a very warm welcome to you, Minister O'Brien, to our county. You've had a number of engagements, seeing, from what I can see, having attended some of those engagements with you, the very best of our county in terms of welcoming new communities to live amongst us and be part of the wider Cavan community, and the great work that is being done by so many people and by the state agencies from our council and the other bodies in terms of trying to bring people together and make people feel part of our community here in County Cavan. The Volunteer Centre is integral to that work. And I know that it has been supported very heavily by our council. Brendan Jennings is here on behalf of the council here this morning, and I'm also delighted that Brendan Spitz TD is here, and I want to give apologies on behalf of two of my colleagues Madeleine Argue and the last Cathaoirleach, Councillor Patricia Walsh, both of whom who have other commitments. Volunteers, whether they be from our traditional communities or whether they be new to our county, are hugely important. Whether it be as local authority engaging in community development, tidy towns, sporting organisations, cultural organisations, we are always reliant on people giving of their time, making themselves available to help out, to improve the places that they live, and to bring people together. There is no way, in my view, of really of putting a monetary value on that, because it is so important in terms of what it does for the wider community. It is so important for the people involved as well, because you will not do that without getting a huge return back for yourself. The work in particular of bringing new people to our county together and getting them involved is hugely important. Since the Volunteer Centre has started, it has provided a huge amount of help to our council in terms of culture night activities, marshalling. The Irish Guide Dogs, SOSAD, have all benefited from help with collections and their activities. And that's just a small number of the groups that have been helped to date. So the work that you're doing is hugely important. I, as the Cathaoirleach of the Council, want to thank you for that and encourage you to continue with it, and assure you that we as councillors appreciate it, and we look forward to working with you as you continue this important work. Having a website it's essential to have that digital presence, and is another way of bringing people together. The whole idea of the volunteer centre is especially important for new people coming to our county, and that is very significant given what has happened in particular in the last 12 months, where we've seen a huge number of people coming to live amongst us from Ukraine, and that has had challenges, but it has also seen us respond in a very constructive and a very positive way, and people have really responded above and beyond the call of duty, really, in the way that they've moved to help people who have come in the most difficult of circumstances. So Vanda, well done on all of your work, together with your colleagues, the directors and all who work with you. And Minister, I think this is another example of the very best of County Cavan, and I'm glad that you're here to launch the website for us. Gur maigat.
May we call on Minister of State Joe O'Brien, please, to give a few words.
Thank you, Vanda, and thank you, Cathaoirleach. It's good to be here. Thank you for the invite. I didn't hesitate when I got it. I think it's very important that with Minister with responsibility for our volunteering policy and our funding streams for volunteer centres as well, at the very least I can do is to come here and to thank everyone involved in the volunteer centre and in the wider community as well for the work that you do, particularly the volunteers as well. So just want to say that up front and acknowledge that. It's good, I think, as well to mark these occasions, to have an event, to make it publicly known that we value our volunteer centres. So again, I was glad to try and help that happen today as well. Public recognition and public understanding of volunteering is really important. There's an awful lot goes on behind the scenes that's not acknowledged, that's not perhaps appreciated as much as it should be. So days like this help us to build that appreciation level across society as well. I've had a short but fairly intense couple of visits in Cavan over the last not even 24 hours, and I've got a really good sense of the community and voluntary sector in the county. It's very lively, it's very vibrant. We met people from the PPN network this morning. I'm not sure if there's anyone here today from that network, but I think we've got around 300 plus members of the public participation network, and it's growing rapidly, I believe, as well. So that's a whole, I suppose, cohort that will benefit from the Volunteering Centre website as well. And of course, all those volunteers who are already engaged but yet to be engaged as well. And that website is going to, I suppose, play a very important part in reaching out building the profile of the volunteer centre, but offering people pathways, easy pathways into volunteering as well. So I think it's an important day for volunteering in Cavan that this website is launching. This isn't happening in a vacuum. We do have a national volunteering strategy. We do now also have a funded volunteer centre in every local authority in Ireland as well. And we have a vision, and our vision for volunteering in Ireland is a society where volunteering is promoted, valued, facilitated and supported. And I think today's event is another step in that direction. And I think very clearly from what I've learned to date, the volunteering spirit is very much alive and well in Cavan. And I think this step today is going to support that further into the future as well. I'm not going to talk for too long. There's a few speakers on the agenda today. When I go out on visits to different counties, I listen a lot. I hear what's going on. If things are being done a bit differently, or if there's new projects that I hadn't heard of before, I like to hear about them, and I like to hear people's experiences as well, because it helps me inform what we do at a national level as well. Vanda mentioned that we met initially some years, 5 years ago. God, 5 years, that's a long 5 years. There's been a lot happening in the last 2-3 years, not to mention the last 5 years. I spent a lot of my life working in the area of migrant rights and migrant integration. So it's a pleasure for me to be working in this new role in particular that I took on over the last couple of months. But even when I had the volunteering remit over the last almost 3 years now, it was very clear to me that volunteering plays a particularly important role in offering opportunities for people new to the community to get involved in their local community, but also to make a contribution to their local community as well. And that theme has obviously been drawn out by the Cathaoirleach as well today, and I don't think it can be underestimated. There was one statistic that kind of struck me from some of the information that I got in advance. 17 asylum seekers had found jobs directly through our first step towards the volunteering centre as well, and put them on the pathway to engagement in wider society. And that statistic is a really one that stood out to me, and I think worth mentioning today as well. And I think as well the Ukraine crisis has been mentioned in response to that. I think that's worth to mention in terms of what the volunteer centre was doing in a variety of ways. And I'm not going to list them all, but there was organising of information sessions, the Ukraine Hub, which I was at yesterday, an amazing building, amazing energy and atmosphere and activities about the place as well. It was extraordinary, the conversation classes. But I think particularly the partnership working, I think needs to be acknowledged as well. And it was a theme this morning in my earlier meeting as well. But I do want to say well done for people reaching out in organisations to other organisations. Sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes you have your own way of doing things. You don't necessarily want to upset the apple cart, but it's really important that we, I suppose, when I say we, because I come from the community and voluntary sector, but when you're in the community and voluntary sector, that you work as much as you can with state agencies, but with other community and voluntary sector organisations as well. And there's been good partnership in that field with the Volunteer Centre and the likes of the Red Cross, the ETB, Fáilte Shock and the PPNs that I mentioned as well. I'm not going to say too much more. I'm interested to listen and I'm interested to learn a little bit about what's been going on. But I want to call out the Magnificent Eight, as you call them. I know they're not all here today. But anytime I'm at an event like this, I think it's particularly important to call out the board members and to acknowledge the board members, because they're one of those invisible groups of volunteers that don't always get acknowledged. And Shay knows I do this at almost every event, but I think it's particularly important to do so because it can be thankless, it can be a bit of a trudge, it can be not particularly exciting work, but that work makes all this happen, makes all this possible, makes the Volunteer Centre itself possible as well. So I just want to particularly thank the board members for their efforts as well. That's it for me. I can hang around until about 11:30 like Deputy Smith. I have to hop in a car soon enough, but I'll hang around until 11:30 at least and hopefully get to chat to a few of you as well, but look forward to the other contributions this morning as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister O'Brien. I also want to just remind everyone, if there's any of you who are not comfortable having photos taken, I just want to notify the photographers, anyone with a red a badge, a pink sticker on them, no photos on them, please, of them. Okay, We're now going to call on Stanley Nuaneri, who is one of our board members, and he's going to give us a message.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you all. Minister Joe O'Brien, Minister for State for Community Development and Charities at the Department for Rural and Community Development, Cohiloc, Councillor John Paul Feely, elected council members, council representatives, stakeholders, CV representative, community leaders, friends, colleagues, and guests. From the CVC board, we are here to launch and unveil the completely redesigned Cavan Volunteer Center website that will enhance an online volunteering experience and present an essential engaging tools to the community and the organization that is in need in Cavan. Cavan Volunteer opened in June 2022 and was launched on the 6th of November by the Minister, Heather Humphrey. It has an active 135 volunteer involving organization and 919 volunteering. 152 signed up on the day of the reopening on June 2022. With 31 nationalities, Irish making most of it, followed by Ukraine, Algerians. Cavan Volunteer Center has 48 active volunteering opportunity with 119 volunteers that has been placed through 1,922 volunteering hours, with 17 asylum seekers having found jobs through volunteering. The center is now providing gather vetting. Cavan Volunteer Center is a hub for all volunteering activities in Cavan and the region. The website is essential tools that help and connect volunteering and volunteering organization in need. Now, with the newly redesigned website, Cavan Volunteer Center made it easier for all the volunteers to enhance an online volunteering experience. From the Cavan Volunteer Center board and staff members, we thank Minister Joe O'Brien for coming to unveil the newly redesigned CVC website. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, Stanley. Now we call on Jay Varga of Volunteer Ireland.
Thank you, Vanda. My name is Jay Varga, and I'm the Volunteering Development Program Manager in Volunteer Ireland. It's a bit of a mouthful, but I have had the pleasure, previous to this role, to work with the Cavan Volunteer Centres Board, and it's been such a journey, and I'm so glad to be here again. So thank you very much for having me back. So just a little bit about Volunteer Ireland. Why am I here? What's the context? So Volunteer Ireland is the national volunteer development organisation and support body for volunteer centres around Ireland. And so that support body part is what brings me here today. And there are 29 volunteer centres around the country, as Minister said, and we are delighted to be working with all of those volunteer centres, and we are providing loads of different types of support, such as training on volunteer management, on communication and advocacy around volunteering, around national events on volunteering, support with the quality standards, and my colleague here is actually working on that, supporting the network of the volunteer centres, which is a very strong network, and many other areas, including support around IVOL, which is the national database for volunteering in Ireland. And I believe that your website is linked to IVOL, and IVOL is something that you will hopefully see how it works. It's kind of like a bit of a Tinder of volunteering and volunteering opportunities, where you can search for different opportunities, different types of volunteering. If you're into social media, you can search by the area of social media, but if you are interested in a cause specifically, then you can search by the cause as well. So it is something that hopefully will make a big difference, although I'm quite sure that you have been using this for a long time now, since you opened. So we try to support and champion the volunteer centres nationally. But I think it's very important to acknowledge that the local volunteer centres and the Cavan Volunteer Centre is their own champion. And you are doing a fantastic job here, Wanda and crew, in championing volunteering and the volunteer centre. And I have very similar stats to what Stanley read out, so I'm going to not go into the details, but I think it is very impressive that you have made such a difference in such a short time. And I would like to congratulate on that and build on that with the new website. It's very exciting, and use our support as much as you can on the way as well. So wishing you best of luck with the new website. Thank you, Wanda.
Now, we have two lovely groups who we have worked with since we opened in June. So we have here with us Caroline Clark from the Bailey Borough Creative Hub, who will tell us about their project, Ukrainian project, with Balinya Community Enterprise Association. Caroline?
Morning, everybody. Thanks for having us. For those of you who don't know us, we are Bailey Borough Creative Hub. Can you hear me? I'm on this.
Yeah.
We're a local group, an artist group, and we have artists that are from beginning level to professional artists, and our goal in the hub, in a sort of nutshell, is to get everybody, help them with their creative potential. We have a lot of people coming to us who say that they have no creativity, which is obviously everybody has creativity, but we work with a lot of exhibitions and the likes, but what we've been doing lately is workshops. And one of the workshops we've been doing lately is a group of Ukrainian ladies in Ballina, and to say it's just been an amazing experience. First of all, our goal going in was to teach them art, obviously, and to get them chatting, and for them to improve on their English. And Google Translate only goes so far, as we've learned. And we have volunteers, both Irish and Ukrainians, that come in and chat and also learn art. But it gets everybody way more comfortable. Everybody can ask questions in that kind of a setting that they wouldn't maybe normally ask, and just helping them sort of integrate into their communities. And it has really been an amazing experience, not just for them, but for us. I mean, we've learned everything from their culture, their art, what kind of holidays they celebrate. It goes on, and I could stand here for an hour talking about them, but they've been really, really amazing. But like everything, it takes volunteers to do it, and the volunteers we have are just brilliant. And these projects will never happen without them. So just from that point, just anything you can. Obviously, our goal is to help them sort of assimilate, but do it in a fun sort of way. And art is universal, so you get to see who they really are through their art. So it's been a very interesting project for us. And on the side note, we all, as we know, volunteers wear many hats. And for me, I know I'm on other committees and everything, and all of our parades and festivals and all these kinds of things would never happen without volunteers. It's all volunteer based, and as you said before, Minister, there's so much work goes in behind the background for these, so it really has been amazing. So we were just delighted to take part in it, and we're going to carry on doing more and more workshops and hopefully make some sort of difference in everybody's lives. So that's it. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Sally Ann as well is our development worker who is also with the Creative Hub, and she has been working with the volunteers in Bailey Borough as well as with Caroline. Thank you so much, Caroline. Now we're going to hear from a really interesting group. We have been very much involved with other marginalized groups or communities in Cavan, the neurodiverse groups. I just learned that term. For the people with disability, we have James here from the Disability Network group, Rehab. National Learning Network. And we also have been involved with Bounce Back, the youth group in Bailey Borough. We're setting up a mural wherein Ukrainian and Irish, as well as other nationalities, will volunteer in doing a collaborative art design that they will then paint on a wall in Bailey-Borough. So we're doing our first workshop tonight, and then on the Bali James Duff. And we're gonna have a second workshop, a full day workshop with them. So then they'll then combine or put together a design reflecting giving back kindness to Ireland. That's the theme. So the children, as well as other older volunteers, will get together and design a really nice mural on a wall in Bali James Duff. And we are very lucky to be working with a group of women. They're called Women of Breffni. They are mostly Irish retired women, and they've been very helpful since we opened in June. And they're very happy and very passionate in volunteering and participating in all our events and all our volunteer projects since we opened. And we have here to speak about their experience, Siobhan Cooney.
Thank you. Good morning to you all. My name is Siobhan. I am from the Women of Breffni. We're a group of women who meet once a week at the CVC Centre. In recent years, we've been growing recognition of the importance of supporting and empowering women to reach their full potential. We are focused on women empowerment, education and leadership. Our aim is to help women to break down barriers and push themselves past their limits. We are also volunteering at the CVC Centre, and we'd like to express our gratitude to Vanda and the staff at the centre. CVC has been an invaluable resource in our community, offering us volunteers to grow and thrive. Thank you for providing us with the tools and support we need to go out and positively impact on our community. Our support has inspired us to continue our work and strive for success. We are truly grateful and looking forward to working together in the future again. Thank you, Vanda and the staff, for all you do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Siobhan.
So thank you so much, everyone. It's really an honor to have everyone here today to help us launch our website. Please look at it later and like our Facebook page. Again, thank you, and can we have some photos taken now? Our translator, your translator.
I was just calling.